Part 3 of how I accidentally joined a cult that landed me in an abusive marriage. At this point, I'm sure you can imagine what happened and how embarrassing that probably was for me. I'm letting you know it was. I tried to play it off, but I was mortified internally. And one of the leaders there, who I think had graduated the year before, his name I'm not going to say, but I will show you a picture here soon. Many years later, he was the lead pastor of a church, and he is now serving a sentence in prison for sexually abusing a teenager, even while he was married and leading a church. But he was one of the ones that was very cruel to me and ridiculed me and talked to me like I was just despicable, despite me continuously asking to go to the restroom. I also want to share that there was a lot of things that I guess you could say, with me being a Black woman, were anti-Black. During this time, the girls, we started going to these girly classes. The boys started going to boy classes, but the messages that came out during these girly classes were really detrimental to our self-perception and worth. The entire narrative was around how can you prepare yourself for marriage, and where some of the anti-Blackness things came in was around Black girls' appearances. So at this time, it wasn't uncommon for Black women to have their hair relaxed, but that was the standard. So my leader was very open about us needing to have our hair straightened and relaxed to look the part, to be attractive. If there were girls who were overweight, they had to be put on meal plans. I want to go back to the night of deliverance that I shared about part 1. One of the things I didn't share there was I was actually asked to come to the front, and when they started to try to deliver me, they tried to deliver me from a spirit of performance, and I was just staring at them. Literally nothing happened because I didn't have a spirit of performance. But the reason why they brought up me having a spirit of performance was because I was praise dancing in the corner somewhere. And so I didn't know why they told me that I was show boasting. I was trying to be seen. I was attention seeking. And it took many years later for me to really unpack what that meant. But anything that was connected to the Black church and a lot of people's expression to worship to God, whether it was saying amen if a pastor said something, or in my case, it was worship dancing, or for others, there was just, if you were crying a certain way, they were like, oh, that's just emotionalism. You're not really worshiping God. You're trying to attention seek. There were just all these things that were relative to how a lot of African Americans express their adoration and love to God that were demonized. And I believe that's why they said I had a spirit of performance. But there were many other messages. For example, they openly spoke against interracial dating. They definitely thought white people should date white people, Black people should date Black people. They openly said that they did think it was unbiblical. They also said that even if you did fall in love with someone from a different culture, it would make it very difficult to have a successful marriage because you're from different cultures. So they really frowned upon it. Our girly classes, the boys were also going through their own things. I can't speak from that firsthand what that was like for them, but I do have a very close friend of mine who shared with me that if there were guys who were feminine or gay, that they would have to participate in these fight rings. I don't know if you've seen a movie called Fight Nights or things like that, but if they were feminine, they would have to fight to toughen them up. I know it's crazy, but it's true. And a couple years ago, a lot of us came out. I can show some of the articles where we started openly sharing about our experiences. And it's really ridiculous that the lead pastor, who wasn't even proximate during this time because he was around the world worshiping, he was a worship artist and leader. He wasn't even proximate to speak on it, but he tried to say that it was lies. It wasn't lie. They were having to participate in fight nights, which is absolutely ridiculous. I also want to bring up the fact that a lot of times we were sleep deprived. The lead pastor, youth pastor, his wife was sick with cancer. We never really interacted with her, and we hardly even interacted with him during our year because she was sick. but we were forced to participate in 24/7 prayer nights where we'd have to pray around the clock, and we still had to maintain our classes, running around to the 220 groups, doing all the things while being sleep deprived. And I want to say that some of the things I'm bringing up, I'm not going to say are within themselves bad, but the way in which they were done is what made it really bad. Something that I was really shocked about when I moved to Louisiana was we were in a lot of the middle schools and a lot of the high schools. And I don't know if I shared a little bit about the encounter retreats. I really want to go deeper into what those did. But what I want to say is the way in which leadership manipulated young people and families of marginalized identity. Most of the people that we were reaching in the middle schools and high schools were impoverished Black people. While they're screaming all these anti-Black messages, they were going for predominantly Black schools. And a lot of the parents didn't really know what was happening when their young people were going on these encounter retreats. And now that I'm a parent and I have children my own age, and I've done the work to really unpack how unhealthy and why I know that this group was a cult, the things that these young people were manipulated into being exposed to on these encounter retreats that they would go on to is absolutely ridiculous, especially when it had...
Y'all know I never get on this app and use my voice to talk about anything. I think the last video I made talking was, I don't even know how long ago, but this is serious. This is also a warning if anyone has fallen into this or anyone has approached them about this. But I accidentally joined a cult. I wish I was lying. I wish I was saying that to be funny or for TikTok clout, but I'm not. I am being so dead ass serious. I accidentally joined a cult. And I used to think there is no way I could ever join an actual real life cult. Like, how can people be that stupid to join cults? Like, don't they know better? Like, isn't it obvious that it's a cult? No, it's not. Listen, hear me out. And I have a lot to say about this, so this is going to be multiple parts because it's not even going to fit in like 10 minutes. I have to make multiple videos. And you probably might be wondering, what business did I have even doing Bible study or anything like that in the first place? So for some background, I grew up very religious, very, very Christian. My parents are very, very Christian. Like, from the moment I came out my mama's womb, in the church, dedicated to God, Bible studies, VBS, Sunday service, church camps, all of the above. And my parents were very, like I said, religious. So like no Pokemon, no Harry Potter, no Twilight, no, none of that, no Halloween. So that's how I grew up. So I have a very religious background. I'm already very familiar with a lot of things in the Bible and in Christianity. Obviously, I grew up. I was outed as a teenager when I had my first girlfriend. This was 10 years ago in 2015. I was outed. I was forced out of the closet when I didn't want to be. And that was very traumatic for me, to say the least. It triggered a lot of depression and mental health issues that I still deal with to this day. And I had already kind of been doubting God for a while, but that was kind of like the last straw. And I was like, okay, I don't want anything to do with Christianity at all. I'm done. And that's kind of how it was for me for years. Like, even as I got older and into high school and after high school, I kind of like felt that void in my heart for like a higher being or for God, but I didn't know how to fill it. I explored other religions, but none of them felt right to me. And so for most of my life since then, the past 10 years, I've kind of just been like agnostic, where it's like, I believe there's something higher than us, but I don't know what it is. I'm not going to claim any religion. I'm not going to go to any like church or whatever. I don't pray to anybody or anything. I'm just living my life. However, and now I'm 24 years old, this year, I've kind of felt like a calling to God, specifically Christianity. And that might sound weird to some of y'all, but that's just something that I feel like I want to do now as an adult on my own terms, not because my parents are forcing me to go to church, not because it's being shoved down my throat. It's something I want to do and explore on my own. And like I said earlier, I was forced out of the closet when I was a teenager, so I am LGBTQ. Specifically, I'm bisexual. I like men and I like women. But, you know, I don't believe being gay is a sin, to be so honest. I don't think being trans is a sin. I think God has bigger fish to fry than if I kiss girls or if somebody's trans. I really do. That's besides the point, though. So I just kind of wanted to explore that on my own as an adult, you know, make my own decisions on things and do what was best for me and what felt right to me. And I'm also a teacher. I work in education. Right now I work at a daycare, but before the daycare, I worked at an elementary school. I left that job in May of this year. And this is important because this is where it starts. On my last day at the elementary school, as I was leaving the campus, so school day was already over, I was getting my things together, I was ready to go. One of my coworkers, I'm not going to say her name, so just one of my coworkers from the school, she went up to me, she was like, "Oh, Camille, I'm so sad that you're leaving," you know, and I had kind of been friendly with her a few times. We weren't like super close, but you know, we'd see each other in the hallway, we said hi, you know, we'd be on friendly terms because we're coworkers. And I had kind of wanted to get to know her more anyway, and I was like, well, this would be a good time because it's my last day, so I'm not going to see none of these people again. So she went up to me, she was like, "I'm so sad that you're leaving, you know, I can give you my number so we can stay in touch, whatever." So I was like, yeah, we can exchange information. She told me too that she was gonna go to like brunch with some of her friends over the weekend, and I couldn't go because I was busy. But then she was also like, you know, "Do you go to church? You know, we could also go to church together, do something." And I was like, well, I'm kind of on the fence about going to church and being a Christian now, but I'm open to it. I'd be down to. So she was like, "Okay, great, that's cool." So then after I got her phone number, she texted me and she was like, "There's this little event that some of my friends are hosting in a park in Virginia." I live in the DMV in DC, but she was like, "They're hosting this event. If you want to come," there's my cat in the background. "You know, there's going to be some food. We're going to, you know, talk about the word. There's going to be somebody speaking." So I was like, yeah, that sounded normal. It sounds fun. I want to kind of like expand my faith, you know, make new friends, especially as an adult. So I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I'll do it. Whatever, sure. And that was where the cult started, because if you know about the Shincheonji cult, they recruit people like that. They usually do it on like college campuses or in malls, or they'll hit you up on like dating apps even, or just like randomly message you on Instagram. But they will also get people that you might even work with or that are friends with you, and they'll try to rope you into it too. And those people are called leaves, I believe, and the people that they recruit, so someone like me, would be called a fruit. So I was her fruit and she was the leaf trying to get me into it, because of course they're not going to say, "Oh yeah, we're Shincheonji, we're a cult, we're this." Like, nobody outright says that, because if they did, I wouldn't have joined it to begin with. You know, they rope you in by being super friendly and nice to you and low-key love bombing you and gaslighting you, which is what she was doing. And I'm going to get more into it in the next part, but it's a lot from here.